Welcome to another episode of Victoria's Lounge from Fairmont, the Norfolk. I'm Victoria Rubadiri. Now, she played out probably what was her most challenging life moment in the public. She was not just a wife and a mother, she was also a media personality, a brand ambassador, a businesswoman. Everything seemed to be going just right until Janet Kanini Ikua was staring at a stage 4 lung cancer diagnosis. You're about to hear her story of triumph because a year on, she beat it. She was and is a cancer survivor. You're going to hear her story of resilience, and hopefully you draw some encouragement from it. Remember, hashtag Victoria's Lounge is how you can chime into the conversation. I'm really excited about this one. Janet, looking amazing.
Thank you.
You exude such joy, such life. Is that how you've always been? Has that always been Janet? Take us through your childhood. What were you like as a little girl?
Well, I've always liked laughing. And my mom pointed this out at a very early age.
Yeah.
And just presenting and talking to people. Perhaps that's why I got interested in theater and performance at a very early age. Yeah, my childhood was great. I loved it. I'm the last born in a family of 3 girls.
What was a defining moment for you in your formative years as a girl coming up? One that you would say, this really put an imprint in my life and made me who I am today?
When I was in campus, I was in Kenyatta University. And they had a very vibrant traveling theater, and also a poetry lab. And I won't deny that I missed a few classes because I was off performing set books for schools, and that actually got me to be called to Phoenix Theatre as a recipient of the Qual Scholarship. For me, that was definitely a defining moment because it showed me that all this performance I had been doing over the years in school plays, dancing on stage, poetry, a little bit of debate, standing on a shaky table in school, that finally somebody was recognizing that, my goodness, this girl does have a talent and we want to hone her skills. That for me really was a defining moment. Those 2 years at Phoenix, because now they opened up the door to eventually becoming a news anchor, a TV presenter for a travel show, of course now and soccer show that I was doing on NTV.
Exactly.
So yeah, I loved that.
It's amazing how your dream really came true and came full circle, if you will. But before we get to your battle with cancer, you actually had an encounter with the sickness before, and it was through your father. Take us through that moment.
8.5 years ago, in 2007, April, I was called home and everyone was sitting around the table, and my dad broke the news that he has cancer. He had cancer, lung cancer stage 4. And what I remember is that I just couldn't stop crying. I was to get married the following year in March 2008. And at some point, after some months of treatment, he began the treatment, chemotherapy, and it really took a toll on him. I mean, he was worn out. And he told me, Kanini, Uncle so-and-so will walk you down the aisle. And I said, no, you are my father. Not Uncle so-and-so. You will walk me down the aisle and you will be alive. So in March 2008, March 7th, fantastic day. He didn't walk me down the aisle. He rolled me down the aisle. He was in a wheelchair with an oxygen tank and a fantastic navy blue suit because my colors were navy blue and yellow. Yellow, the Kamba in me. I love sunflowers. And he went down the aisle. He was pushed by my cousin. And he was there. And I had a fantastic wedding day. And 2 weeks later, he died. Wow. Yeah. So cancer has claimed too many loved ones. Okay, it's not easy watching your loved one going through that. We had to get a hospital bed for him in the house. He was so weak. He had to keep going in and out of hospital. Insurance ran out. We had to pay loads of money just for them to cover another 2 million shillings because his drug cost 280,000 shillings a dose.
Wow.
1 dose.
Wow.
And he had to get more than 1 dose every month. So it was not easy. By the time we thought of flying him out for further treatment, he was too weak to travel, and I think we were all just confused. Another thing that was difficult was I prayed. I prayed. I thought I was praying enough. I read the Bible every day. And he still died. So for 1 year after his death, I rejected God. I said no. I did my part. We prayed. My family
Right.
prayed.
Why is this happening?
My mom is so tired. She took such care of him. How, God, could you still take him away? I've just gotten married. He's not even seen my kids. So that was difficult. So for 1 year, and then when I reached rock bottom in my spiritual life, I went for a course in Mavuno Church called Mizizi. And basically that just lifted me up because it's a transformative spiritual course. And again, I guess God and I now are on the same page again after that.
Wow. And a necessary place, because you are now getting into your own battle with cancer. But before we get to that, there was something else that was wrong. It was DVT as it's known.
Yeah.
But take us through the day that you sensed something is wrong.
Well, we were filming the Nsoko property show. Exciting as always. We had gone on location. That morning, when I woke up, my legs were swollen and my wrist joints were also paining. But I thought, my goodness, I've been overworking. You know, the things we tell ourselves when we're busy. We always create excuses. Oh, I ran too hard yesterday. Oh, so I went to work as usual. Went to a construction site, you know, came back to the office, started arranging interviews for the following day. And the pain was still there. So I thought, okay, fine, let me just run up to the clinic and get a painkiller. So I went and they checked me out, did a blood test, and they said, okay, fine, just take this painkiller. And the next morning I woke up, the pain had gone in all the joints, but my left leg was still aching, and now it was definitely swollen. So I thought, okay, I'll go back to the clinic and tell them, yeah, you know, the painkiller worked, but not quite. But first of all, let me finish my work. Went to work, did the interviews, and I remember during the interview, my legs were really paining. And I was even telling the cameraman, you know what, guys, you know, just if I tell you just to stop, please stop, because I was sweating and my legs were aching. And I could barely stand after that because I had to keep carrying my luggage. So I went to the clinic again and told them, okay, fine, you know what, how about you just send me to a specialist? So they said, okay, fine, go and see this particular specialist. But we were getting into the Easter break because it was last year, April. So again, I created an excuse because now I was popping the painkillers, you know, like, woo! And they were really working. They were taking away the pain. So that made me think, I can wait for Easter to end when the specialists are back on duty. Over Easter, I did what you are not supposed to do when you have deep vein thrombosis. There were a whole bunch of kids in the car, you know, and so I was carrying my daughter, and, you know, my son was sleeping on me, so there was pressure on my leg. Long distance, there was traffic, so my leg was folded for a long time. You're not supposed to do that. When we got to Shags, I walked up and down the hill with them because the kids were playing, you see? So by the time I got back to Nairobi, now on the Tuesday, I mean, my left leg was massive. And now I was really being told by especially my mom and my sisters, because they're medics, and they were like, no, go and see a specialist now. So eventually I went to see him, and he said, Janet, okay, go to the lab right now, get a Doppler ultrasound taken, check also your chest. So I'm wondering, why are you checking my chest? What's a Doppler? You know, just taking it very lightly, because I thought you'll just give me more painkillers or something else, but a drug, and I can go home and continue working. Got the Doppler done. The results came out at 5:30 p.m. And the radiologist, I remember she looked at me very strangely and said, you need to go see your doctor right now. And I said, well, it's 5:30, he's already gone home. She said, please, tomorrow morning, first thing, make sure you see your doctor. So fine. So I went home and I sent a message, you know, to my mom and my sisters, and I said, yeah. So she thinks it's something called DVT. And I switched off my phone because it was nighttime, went to sleep. And in the morning, I wondered why there were so many missed calls and messages. Go and see him now. DVT is not something to joke about. And on the way to town, now I was really nervous. First, I went for a photo shoot.
Oh my goodness. So you're almost ignoring this whole sign saying something is wrong.
Yeah, I was in denial. You know what? When you're told that you could be seriously sick, there's this part of you that's in denial, like, nah, I'm just tired. So I popped another painkiller. Okay, went for the photo shoot and eventually went to see my doctor, and he said, Janet, you're going to hospital right now. And I said, no, I need to go home, you know, can I go and pack clothes, maybe see my family? And he said, no, call somebody right now, you go to hospital. My sister was called, she went, and I mean, she took me to hospital, and I was admitted immediately for 5 days. Put on heparin, blood thinners, and told do not move from the bed. Life was relatively normal. After 2 months, went back for my checkup, and there were no more clots in my legs, okay? But for 1 week, I had been feeling breathless. And my doctor said, you know what, Janet, just go and see a cardiologist. So now I'm wondering, hey, cardiologist, heart, what does that have to do with anything?
Right.
Went to see him, did an EKG, and he told me, Janet, do you have anyone you can call right now? So I thought, okay, now seriously, what are these stories? I mean, come on, 2 months, I'm done, my legs are clear, you know, send me home. I called my sister, she works in the same building as him, and he said, this is it, okay? You have clots in your heart and in your lungs.
Wow.
Also known as a pulmonary embolism. People drop dead from this condition.
Wow.
Okay? You're lucky, you're still alive. You've been moving around for a week, breathless. I was put in a wheelchair because you're literally not supposed to move.
At all.
Those clots can just, even if they move a millimeter and it blocks an artery, you're gone.
Wow.
Because the symptoms resemble a heart attack. You just die.
Wow.
This time I was in for 10 nights and 11 days. It came down to a decision between open heart surgery to remove the clots or thrombolytics. So my husband was told, please sign this consent form, okay, and then leave us with your wife. He asked, how will I know that it's worked? He was told, if she's alive after 2 hours.
In that moment, did you fear death at all?
I was so confused because I had been hearing about open heart surgery, cutting the chest open. I mean, things I had seen on TV, you know, your rib cage is cut, you know, smashed.
Right.
And then suddenly we're being told, no, you know what, let's do the thrombolytics, but these are the dangers. And I'm thinking, okay. So I held my Bible and I held the photo of my kids who I hadn't seen since I was swept off to hospital. Right. And I started praying and asking God, I don't know, am I ready to come to heaven? Have I read the right verses? So I would, you know, go again to other verses that my friends had told me and think, okay, have I repented? Have I forgiven everyone? Am I on the right? You know, just in case. But then at the same time, I'm telling God, I believe I'm going to live. Right. But at the same time, oh my goodness, especially when 20 minutes in, after they had started the drug, I started feeling my heart beating hard, pounding. And then it pounded in my neck. I could feel it and in my head. And I was like, oh, so this is what a heart attack feels like. It's a pity I wouldn't be able to tell anyone about it. Because I thought I was going. 2 hours later, my husband walked in and I was alive.
Oh my goodness. You are still here.
Yeah.
The situation was going to go from bad to worse though.
Yeah. I thought that was the worst that I was going to face.
Right.
But while I was still in hospital, the cardiologist inserted what's called a filter. So it's in just around my intestinal area, somewhere there, in the iliac region. And this filter basically is supposed to stop any clots coming from my lower limbs because DVT tends to manifest mostly, especially in the lower limbs. Okay. Sometimes, rarely, you'll find it in the upper limbs. So any clotting, because now they could tell that my blood was just clotting ridiculously. And I was put on injections, twice daily injections, because clearly the pills were not working. Right. And within 7 days of being discharged, I got the most massive clot in this leg, compared to what I'd even gone through before. Wow. And my leg was black, swollen. I mean, we went to get a Doppler ultrasound. My husband had to carry me. I was heavy because of the added weight. And, you know, even when they were doing the Doppler pressing, the gadget was painful, but they had to press and see what's going on here. And they found a massive clot going all the way from above my knee up. And what had stopped it from going to my heart again? The filter. So I'm forever grateful to my cardiologist for that, for putting the filter there, because I can't imagine that size of a clot going to my heart and lungs again. So again, I was laid out, couldn't go to work. Fortunately, NTV, you know, allowed Dan to help me out. Now I had to continue those injections for months. I actually stopped taking those injections this year, July. Wow. So injections that ideally should be taken for 10 days, I took for about 11 months. Wow. It was painful because I had to do it on my pot. That's why I like saying, yeah, if you have a pot, there's a reason for it, man. You know, the fat helps to absorb the medicine.
To insulate.
And exactly, you know. And I was so full of bumps and bruises. And of course, you know, behind is also an alternative, but that also filled up with bumps and bruises. So it was very painful. And my husband used to help me until he couldn't help me anymore, because I literally needed to look for 5 millimeters, a small space to put the needle through. Because if I put it on any of the bumps, I would bleed.
Considering what you have gone through, and I don't know if the viewers are ready to hear what's going to happen next after this break, your battle with cancer. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Victoria's Lounge. We're still here with the beautiful Janet. Beautiful story. Now, Janet, take us through the day that you actually found out that you had cancer. What was going through your mind?
It was Sunday, September 13th, 2015. And we had landed in India on the Thursday and immediately shown the doctor, you know, these are the results and tests that were done regarding the deep vein thrombosis. And my husband and I were sure that, you know what, he'll just say, okay, go into the PET scan and they would find whatever organ was malfunctioning, causing the DVT. And, you know, again, I'd get a few pills, you know, and go back home within 10 days or 14 days. So I did go into the PET scan, fantastic machine, just once in, one out. And, you know, they were able to tell everything that's going on in my body. I also did a fine needle test. So they did a biopsy of my lymph node here. You know, the irony is, I had been feeling these little balls in my lymph nodes at the base of my neck. And I just thought, oh gosh, the human body is so funny. There are little tiny balls in here, you know, like marbles. But I thought nothing of it. But he went straight there, you know, and he said, okay, we need to do a biopsy of that. So I'm wondering, what do you mean a biopsy? Biopsy is linked to cancer. Anyway, we pushed it out of my mind because before I left Kenya, I had already done a bronchoscopy and a colonoscopy and an endoscopy to start checking my body for what could be going wrong.
Okay.
And the bronchoscopy revealed that something suspicious which they had seen in my lung, a little mass, that it was suspicious for malignancy. Okay. I was not told it's cancer. I was told suspicious. Okay. It could be anything. It could be a malfunctioning organ. So the plan was that they would keep doing different CT scans and MRIs and ultrasounds of even my armpit and my neck and goodness knows where else. So my husband just told me, you know what, Janet, I've done research online. Let's go and get that PET scan once. Okay. It's even cheaper. And that's it. We finished with that. So I did all the tests. And on the Sunday, my doctor walked into my room. And I was in an upbeat mood. You know, I thought finally the tests are over, now just get the results and go home because our kids were missing us already. And he had been speaking to my husband because I was in the bathroom. So when I came out, I found them just finishing talking. And I said, oh, hey, doc, how are you? The test results out? And he said, yeah, you know, now we'll just let you know about that. And he went. Yeah. But my husband followed him. So I thought nothing of it. So my husband came back in. And we just started talking about random things. And in the middle of that, he says, by the way, the results came out. And he says, you have lung cancer stage 4. So first I looked at my hubby like, yeah. So anyway, wow. Nah. I looked at him again and he said, yes, Kanini, it's lung cancer stage 4, like what your father had. Wow. And now it really hit me because I saw what my father went through for almost a year. And I said, no, and what is this stage 4? I mean, 4 is the last stage. It's basically when you're told nothing more can be done, you're pretty much dead. Okay, I started crying. And then I would just keep popping up the question, you know, what do you mean? Is he sure? Is the doctor sure? And he said, look, Dr. Zaidi, that's my Indian doctor. I love Dr. Zaidi. And he said, I will do my part for your wife. I will treat her. But she has to do the rest for herself. Up here and spiritually, she must decide that she's going to live. Amazing. She has 6 months to live. If she's lucky, a year. Wow. Now, my husband did not tell me about the 6 months to a year until January. He did not tell me on that day. Because I realized now after dealing with other patients, when you're told you have a little time left to live, it sticks in your mind. And anytime you feel any symptom, any sickness, you imagine, oh my goodness, I'm dying now because I was told. So that was that day. I told my husband, okay, you know what, just leave me for the night in the hospital alone. Yeah. And the nurses, one nurse came in. She didn't know much English, but I told her, I've been told I have cancer. Right. And she just said, Janet, God is there. Pray to God. And after that started 2 weeks of me basically being like a zombie because what they did is they needed to do an EGFR test, which is basically a gene test to see if I have the mutation that will allow for me to take oral chemotherapy drugs as opposed to the conventional IV chemotherapy. And so, I mean, I just pretty much spent my days watching TV and I would eat and the kids.
How did you take some time? Yeah. Completely understand how tough that was, having to explain that moment to them. Take your time. Take your time.
I mean, we were supposed to be in India for 10 days, maximum 14 days. And here we are being told, you know, now.
It's fine. I know it's bringing back the emotion of that moment. Take your time.
Okay, this is one challenge women have with makeup.
And that's fine. We know how to get through it. You've been through worse.
Yes,
and you've shown that you're strong.
I remember first having to break the news to my mom, because they're medics. They know. And in as much as I tried to hide the bandage that was covering where I had done the biopsy, they suspected.
Okay.
But I looked for my sisters first. And I told them, I'm telling you this first. After 24 hours, I will tell mom, so that you prepare yourselves to help her, to just be with her. And when I called her, I said, okay, mom, this is what they've said. I had a scarf, but she could see the bandage. And she said, Kanini, is that an FNAC that they did on your neck? The fine needle test to check the biopsy. And I said, yes, it is. And I said, look, mom, I am okay. I will not go like daddy.
Right.
I am here. So you see even the way I'm standing. I mean, look at me. I don't look like a stage 4. What is 4? What is 4? I'm, I look normal, you know? And I just told her that. And I left now my sisters to deal with whatever was happening in Kenya. Our kids just kept saying, I want to be there, mommy. Where are you? Why are you in hospital? What are you doing in hospital? And we couldn't tell them how serious things were. So basically after 2 weeks, my husband had to come home, and my mother just left work, and she said, I'm going to my daughter in India. And she stayed there with me for 5 weeks. So I was in India for a total of 7 weeks. And chemotherapy started there. I did 2 sessions. They were difficult. It's the mutation. I was found that I don't have the mutation to take the oral pill. So I had to do the conventional chemotherapy. And I remember I had one of my veins blocked. It was a black line for months after that. That's one of the side effects of chemo. And your veins, your vessels also become very tiny, so it's hard to put in the cannulas. Now I laugh about the side effects from my first chemo. Woke up and you know, I was pretty okay. But when I looked in the mirror, my eyes were really bloodshot. And I'm thinking, whoa, okay. But I was hungry, I was starving. So I told my mom, yeah, me, I've gone to look for food. You know. So I went, and as I started walking around, I just felt faint, and I had to, you know, just lie down on a couch over there when everyone was looking. But the waiters, they came and they helped me out. And I now my migraine started. I felt like my head was just pounding like crazy. And then another symptom came after that, and another one. They came in waves, and I couldn't move. I was just stuck in bed for days, and then I was feverish, and I had chills. And we kept asking housekeeping, bring us more blankets, and then no, take them away. And then it was hard for my mom to watch. She didn't know what to do. She had seen my father go through this, and I was thinking, God, why are you letting her go through this again? You know, and why am I feeling like this? What did I do? Because as patients, you wonder, what did I do wrong?
Exactly. I mean, and that's beyond the physical pain, beyond the emotional toll it takes on you. There's the cost implication as well. You know, you find insurance cannot cover a lot of the treatment that you need to live. How did you get through those moments in trying to figure out how to raise funds? And we know we were part of the I Stand With Janet campaign to raise funds for you. What was that moment like, having to put aside that and deal with the cost implications that cancer brought with it?
When I was found to have DVT in April, I was hospitalized. So I started using it. And again, I was hospitalized in June, when the DVT had really become a lot. And my insurance ran out during the second hospitalization. Renewal was on the 1st of September. And I asked them, look, this is June and I have more tests to do. So please, can I renew early? Because I've literally never used my insurance, inpatient, all my life, ever. So I thought, you know what, they would consider it. But I was told, no, Janet, you have to wait until the actual renewal date, which is 1st September. So between June and September, all those tests that I had to do, the endoscopies and all that, and the injections, buying the injections, those things are not cheap. I used my salary, and then I used my savings. And then when it came to time to renew the insurance, all this time, my agent had not told me that, by the way, Janet, when you renew it, you will only get 10% of the cover limit.
Wow.
For the same condition that you are battling. And so I renewed, believing that we're going to India with 5 million shillings, you know, and whatever happens, that will be enough to take care of it. But as I was renewing, I found out about the 10% cover limits, that I would only be given 500,000. And we had already gotten a quotation from India that investigations alone and the PET scan and all those other things would cost 1 million. Wow. So I begged and I told them, look, seriously, I did not know about this. Then they say it's on the insurance document, it's written there. And I said, look, this is my first time to need this, okay? So they made it 15%, which is 750,000, but I was still to look for the rest myself. Anyway, when my husband and I went to India, we didn't think that cancer would be the outcome. So here we are in India, and I'm being told cancer and chemotherapy, and I remembered, what did my father go through? Exactly. Millions. A dose is 280,000 shillings. Where am I going to get money from? Because clearly, now I had run out of insurance again while I was in India. And that is when my mother just asked me, what do I do? You know, do we sell things? Our family, do we just look for things and sell them? Right. The next morning, I just fell on my knees and I cried and I said, God, I don't know. Right. Because I had spoken to my kids the night before that after chemo. And I just said, I'm done. I heard, just let go completely. The next day I remember is when I posted on Facebook, and within 24 hours, my husband called me and said, Janet, people are asking how they can help you. And I told my mother, and we were like, what? People just want to give. My classmates had already set up a pay bill number for me. And then now my producer at the time, Marceline, she would be on WhatsApp and she's sending me posters. And I'm thinking, what's this poster for? And it's written, I stand for Janet. Right. And there's a whole list of artists who are going to perform, and Churchill is going to MC. And I'm thinking, what's that? Right. And she's like, we want to hold a concert for you. Wow. And I asked, why? And I asked God, what's all this? You said you'll help me, but why are people showing such love for me? Right. Who am I? Right. When God decides he's putting you in a place of favor, he will make sure that you get that favor. And that's what happened for me.
But what was that like? Because you were going through arguably the most difficult time of your life. In the public eye, what was that like?
I did not expect the response that I got to my Facebook post. I didn't. It was such love. I mean, that really actually held me up. Right. And I think that was one of God's strategies, you know. But I won't deny that it's been exhausting also. Because as I went through it, now some people would rely on me for emotional support, to understand what's going on, because I would talk about the side effects. I would talk about things openly. And so they would ask me, Janet, I'm feeling like this. Is this normal? Janet, what did you do for the doctor? Janet, which medicine are you taking, and all that? So I would help people, but I realized I was also getting tired because I was going through my own emotional and physical challenges. Right. But you know what? Now I still help. I talk to patients and caregivers almost every day. I believe this is my new purpose. And that's why I love it so much. I experienced my father's journey as a loved one, losing someone to cancer, watching what he went through. And now I experienced it myself as the patient, so that I actually know. I can authoritatively speak to loved ones and patients about what they are going through, and I can help them better, you know? So I'm glad I actually went through that. I am actually glad I went through that despite all the tears.
And that is a perfect place to leave it, because we're going to hear about the journey post. You beat it. You're a survivor. You're a conqueror. And you're going to tell us what that journey has been like so far. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Victoria's Lounge. We're talking to Janet about her amazing, amazing journey. You're here on the other side of it. And we can actually call the day that you found out that it was completely gone your birthday. It was a rebirth of sorts, because you're coming into a new life after having gone through what you did. But it's interesting, when you go through an experience where you face death, you have a new appreciation for life. What are some things that you really appreciate about your life now?
Oh, I love my life. I have stopped taking things for granted. I love it when it rains. I love it when the sun is shining. Nature is so beautiful. I love my country. I am just, my eyes have been opened. It's like I was awakened to how rich life actually is. The things that I'm doing right now, even setting up the foundation, is literally a leap of faith. I did not have a salary. Actually, I still don't.
Everything is by faith, literally.
Everything is literally by faith, you know, but I'm loving it, my life. I mean, let me tell you something. When you give everything over to God and He knows that you're relying on Him completely, He still opens doors for you, and somehow you're fed, somehow you're clothed, somehow things happen. People come your way that favor you.
Right.
And then, of course, now this is another thing that I really like. I have a newfound appreciation for healthy lifestyle.
Oh, I can bet you do.
Yes, as you can see here,
Yes.
I call it a concoction because it tastes like that. It's intense ginger and intense
actually smell
lemon.
it, yes.
Yes, and intense honey in hot water. Exercising, I'm doing that a lot more than I used to. Well, slowly. My body took some time to get back from being tired all the time.
What was the healing process like? Because beyond the physical, you know, you've gone through chemo and different kinds of medication.
Yeah.
The mental and spiritual healing, which is so important, because what you went through was traumatic.
Yeah. Mental was hard, I wouldn't deny. Oh my goodness. I remember, I think the worst day during it all was in December, when I was just so low, because I remember my entire skeleton from head to toe, literally everything would pain. Wow. And then combine that with bloating, combine that with a flu that wouldn't go for 6 weeks. I was a mess. But my kids still wanted to see me and they wanted to play with me. And I was so tired of telling them, no, mommy, today is tired. Oh no, I can't come out with you today. It's okay, just go and play. Then you'll see me after. So I would end up staying in my room for hours on end. I was just so tired. And I called my doctor, and I remember I cried for her on phone because I told her, what's going on with me? Is anything working? Is the treatment working? Why do I feel like this? I can't recognize my body. I'm in so much pain. My kids, I can't carry them.
Yeah.
I can't. And she encouraged me, you know. And the 6 weeks ended, and the flu ended, and that was around Christmas. And then my hair started falling off.
Wow.
Oh my goodness! Then that was something else. So I dealt with that by making it a family affair. I remember it was Boxing Day, the day after Christmas. And I gave them a pair of scissors and I said, okay, everybody take a turn. We are chopping mommy's hair off today.
Wow. Oh,
so I tried to make it a fun, exciting activity. Wow, my husband really went through a lot because he had to help me camouflage a lot of things from our kids.
Of course.
And they wouldn't even have to use the scissors. They would just pull and my hair came off. And I would look at it and think, I'm falling apart.
Wow. And for most women, that's you know, the Bible says a woman's hair is her glory.
Yeah.
So losing that part of you, how did you go through and get through that experience? I mean, I know you had to save face for the kids, but really.
Yeah. It took me a while. I mean, now I walk around like this with my hair and I'm happy.
You're looking fabulous, by the way.
Thank you. In fact, I ran to the kinyozi with my son, you know, like,
Wow.
give him the boy's mohawk and give me the female mohawk. You know, so that's why I look like this
wonderful.
now. But it took me a while to get, because you see, the hair for me was, the falling off meant that my body is now just falling apart. So it was like a metaphor for everything that is happening to my body. But eventually I got through it because I needed to start appreciating what is important in life. What is important, okay? Is it my hair? Is it my health? Is it that I have my loved ones around me? Is it that I have support? Is it that I still have people who want to come and visit me? You know?
Right.
So I had to shift focus. You have to shift your mentality. How do you want to go out? Do you want to go out miserable, wishing, oh, shoulda, woulda, coulda? No. Right. The people around you who deserve appreciation, who deserve love, are you spending enough time with them, letting them know how much they feel? Yeah. So I just had to shift my mindset completely. And now, I don't want to grow my hair ever again.
Wow. I mean, that's a brave move. But one, I feel that is nothing compared to what you went through, honestly. Speaking of which, okay, now you're cancer-free. Do you fear it ever happening again? Do you fear it? Because it does happen in some cases. Do you fear that?
Yeah, as a survivor, that's one of the things, unfortunately, we have to face. Because when I was told, you know, I'm in remission, I went online to find out, you know, because again, you need to do research on these things. Find out what does remission mean, and remission goes along with the word recurrence when you go on Google. And recurrence is scary. I remember I just shut my laptop and pushed it aside and said, I'm not reading that. Because I've already gone through such a crazy physical and emotional journey. Now I'm happy because I am well, but everything online is telling me, oh my goodness, it could recur again. If you do this and that and the other, please watch out for the following symptoms because your cancer could come back. Oh, and guess what? If it does come back, chances are you won't make it this time. It will be more aggressive. It's very depressing.
It's a mental fight.
Yes, it's a mental fight. But here's the thing, okay? One of the challenges I've really had to face is the faith challenge. Do I believe what the world is showing me, what medical reports are saying, or do I believe that God has healed me? Because I believe that God ultimately is the one who healed me. There are people richer than I am with access to better facilities than I had who have undergone chemo and radio and you name it, and they died. I was spared. Clearly, God has a reason why he did that, okay? And now I am realizing what that reason is. But then I need to keep the faith that what he already did, he will continue and he will maintain it. So there's that. And it's a battle against, no, my doctors are actually thinking, no, just to be on the safe side, you know, do this and that and the other. So it's actually a struggle that we've been having. And sometimes I would tell my doctor when I go for review, I'm like, no, seriously, I don't need anything. Because I was put on maintenance treatment for some time. You know, the treatment doesn't just suddenly stop, but I believe I am here for very many years, healthy, because I walk by faith, not by sight. Sight is symptoms and medical reports and statistics. I am not a statistic. I don't live by that.
I love that. I love that. And that's the word of a conqueror indeed. Beautiful, beautiful story of overcoming, of triumph, of pain, but something beautiful came out of it. And I thank you so much for your candor. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Norfolk for being such wonderful hosts. But before we leave you, I want to have you listen to some messages from some cancer survivors, warriors, conquerors, who are going to give you some of the lessons that they've learned through their journeys and their experiences. And I hope that you can draw something out of that, whether you have been through cancer yourself or haven't. Take some encouragement from them. Take some encouragement from Janet. It's been a wonderful session that we've had with her. But have a wonderful evening. Let's do this again next week. You know where to find me.
Resilience. One thing I've learned through my experience is patience and being who I am today. It's been a difficult journey of pain, but I've learned to more or less of like open up and love people more.
Transformed. I've learned to have more gratitude for life than ever. It's the smaller things that I've learned how to appreciate more in my life. Spending time with my children, going for a walk, doing a little gardening. It's the small things that end up putting a smile on my face.
Prayer. I'm a warrior of ovarian cancer. Throughout my journey, I learned that prayer works. And when life knocks you down, you are the best position to pray.
Different. I now look at life differently. I feel very strongly that we belong to each other, we need each other, we must coexist. That is the lesson I have learned from cancer.